Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. The Safe Room. It's your boy, the President, Sean Williams. We are back with another episode, but it's not a normal episode. No. It's old school versus new school part 2. Part the 1 + 1 is 2. You feel me?
No.
Yes, sir. We are here. The day has come, and man, I'm excited. I don't know what the heck is gonna happen, but we got a squad here. We got a full squad here, and like I gotta give the intros properly. So guys, this may take me a while, but we're gonna do what it is. First off, we got this way shoot to my left right here, and but no, it's all love. Trust me. You already know, man. She's like, I don't know how to describe her, man. Like, it's more than my sis, dancing queen right here, man. President for her own club and everything, doing her stuff. We saw that video you did just a couple days ago and everything. That's the big sis, Shenel. How you feeling?
What's poppin'? I'm glad I can be here and have this conversation.
Nice. Next up, we got Miss Emily as well, and I know she be doing her thing. One thing I can say about Emily, when it comes about supporting the community, she's going to do it. Whether it's going to be through her social media and everything, she's going to be out here grinding nonstop. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Happy to be here.
Great. That's great to hear. Also, as well, we have another hard worker in her own right, man. And, she has a primary focus for Black youth over the past 5 years, community hard driven as well. Vanessa, I see you with the bucket hat on. Come on now, you're flexing. That's how you feel? That's how you feel. How are you doing, Vanessa?
I'm good. How are you guys?
That's great. And next up, I know a lot of people call her by different names. I just refer to her as Mother because she raised me. I won't lie. I was a little kid, but she grew me up, and now she's doing her thing. Graduate from Carleton. Black brilliance, everything about it. Yes. Tinuola, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Sean. I'm happy to be here. Very excited.
That's great. Also, in the building, we have a teacher in his own right. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, when he told me he was doing stuff for Downsview at the time, I was like, hold up. Like, that's the Brody. That's the guy. I see him in the cut right now. Andre, man, how are you doing?
What's up?
Yo, pop a tag one time. Pop your shoulder one time.
All right.
Come on.
There you go.
Come on.
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thank you.
Man, for sure. And next up, we have another grinder. Like, there's a lot of grinders in here, but she puts in a lot of work too. A lot of passion for Black youth. And she's a co-founder for Recon and Quest. So again, she's been doing her thing as well. In the top left corner of my screen, Shenikqwa, how are you doing?
I'm good. I appreciate the enthusiasm a lot. I'm good.
Yes, for sure. And finally, we got my main man at the bottom of my screen, Ladi. This guy, he's a visionary, man. Man loves his arts, his photography. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if the time comes, I'm gonna have to link you, man. How are you doing?
I got you, no problem. No, I'm amazing. Thank you for having me on the platform, and I'm excited. So thank you.
Yes, for sure. So I know that was a long introduction as usual, but I had to get it, guys. But we are here. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, but mostly focusing on the entertainment aspect, music, TV shows, like everything around it, the media. We're going to get to it. So for everyone listening, basically, this isn't going to be like a full-on, like old school, new school, like team battle thing. No, this is just open. And we're going to hear from both perspectives because that is important. We're not going to just hate on one side and just be love, and not, be balanced about it. So, you guys ready?
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. So, before we hit record, Tinuola asked about a certain question that I'm glad she did bring up, and I wanted to address it now. So, when you hear old school and new school, I know everyone's probably thinking like, okay, Sean, but like, what is old school and new school in a way? And it's a really good question because, there's so many different timelines. There's so many different periods where we've clinged on to so many things, and specifically for this conversation, like music, TV shows, everything. We have so many different memories. So because Tinuola kind of brought it up at first, I want to pass it right to her just to start us off. What do you feel as in like, is like the representation of like old school, new school? Does it come within like a certain timeline? Is it because of like moments that you guys have just experienced? Like, I just want to hear it off. So I want you to kick off.
Well, you're on mute.
Tinuola, I think you're on mute.
I wanted to be respectful for Shon. So I ain't even old like that, but I feel like when it comes to I'm gonna take a quote unquote academic or critical perspective. I feel like when it comes to defining old school and new school, it's not, people will most likely say timeline, people will say age, people will say era. I would actually categorize it as, I guess, an age in a sense, or a type of mentality. For me, I'm 22, so I'm a bit of a 90s baby and I guess a 2000s kid. But I'm also classified as a zillennial. I think all of us in this room are. And in terms of popular culture, which is what I'll classify as media, I think it just has to do with mentality and perspective. If you see popular culture now within media, specifically when it talks to TV shows, you could say it's way more progressive, especially from when we were younger. Progressive as in including more, I guess, different characteristics. However, in terms of quality, I don't think the quality is as great as when I grew up. Let's talk TV shows right now. I grew up on Proud Family, That's So Raven, the Lizzie McGuire Show, Smart Guy to an extent. In terms of cartoons, basically everything that was on Teletoon, which if there's Americans watching is basically your version of Cartoon Network. I think those are pretty quality. In terms of music, I'm on both sides. I love what I grew up on and I like what I listen to right now. However, what I listen to right now is not the mainstream, but I feel like in terms of mentality, that's where it comes from. As we get older, especially our generation, we're on a new mentality than quote unquote previous generation. So I guess that's how I'll classify old school versus new school. The only thing I'll say about it though, as I said previously, in terms of critique, is that the quality I don't think is of popular culture in terms of media is not as great as it was. But music, I think it's always going to be a debate. So I'm always going to be on both sides.
That's interesting how you said mentality, and I want to know if anyone else wants to kind of speak on that. Do you feel like it is the mentality in terms of like what differentiates old school and new school?
Yeah, I would say like old school, it's more conservative in terms of mentality, and like new school, it's like more progressive, more open to new things, different things. Like whereas, yeah, just conservative. That's how I see it. Like even like what the way we would dress, or like how we would characterize women, like the way women were thought of in old school times would be like, you specifically have to go to school and you guys have to know how to cook, how to clean. You need to prepare yourself for a husband. Like, so that's like an old school mentality for me. Whereas new school, it's like, those things should not be your first priority. You can focus on yourself, get your education, like all of those things.
Yeah, for sure. And I see Shenikqwa, she's got her hand up, so I know she has something to say about that.
Honestly, I feel like, first thing, I feel like there's nothing new under the sun. I know sometimes because of how things looked, oftentimes people will characterize older music or old school music as being more conservative, but I don't necessarily feel that way because one of my favorite groups that I like to listen to is like A Tribe Called Quest. But if you're listening to the things that they're talking about in the song or how they may address women or whatever, it's not, or even certain other old school songs, it's not very far. It may be more explicit now, but it's not very far from what is being said at this moment. And as to what side I would choose, I can appreciate both, as that was said before, because with what's just because I was a person who was really against like newer school stuff or whatever, because I had similar views of it being just like not good for the most part. But in taking a step back and thinking about, okay, if things are supposed to be evolving and changing and shifting, and if I open my ears to hear like the different ways that people are interpreting, art or like old school music and all that kind of stuff, there is a lot to appreciate about what some people are doing now, versus back then. Whether all of it is good in terms of how people do it, that's up for a debate. But I'm pretty sure that could have been up for debate when we were young and jamming to music, and our parents were like, "What kind of garbage are you listening to?" But yeah, like I feel like the way that I'm able to be open to this music that's coming out now, or open to what is available now, is to open my ears to the ways in which that people are creating out of their own experiences and through their own narrative, rather than through a lens of nostalgia. Because when you're looking through things in a nostalgic sense, that can skew your view of things and make it think like, oh, back then it was so much better than now and whatever. And it's like, yeah, certain things that, you know, we enjoy back then was great. And but it was great because it started a new sound. It was great because it was fresh in terms of what we understood other music to be back then. But not all of it, like, because when you Google like music award shows back in the early 2000s, the fashion was wild. There's this one uncle on I think it was BBC Africa or something, who wears skirts. He looks great, but one thing he'll say is like, fashion is madness, and that what was happening in the early 2000s. That's the one thing I'll say is like, eek. We can take certain things, but not all of it. It was pretty rough in terms of some of the things that I saw back in those days. But yeah, that's what I would say in terms of things that I can enjoy from or take away or not from both sides.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And like, I feel like when I hear these types of conversations, it's always so intriguing, because I'm like, don't get me wrong, I know why, a lot of people resonate with the old school because of, just the mentality and everything. But I think to myself, like, what is so bad about new school? Because one thing that my sister and I were talking about earlier on is that you have so many choices. And even though old school kind of gave like a sense of like togetherness, where like everyone was kind of coming together for a certain thing, and it felt genuine, everyone was kind of vibing, whether it was music or TV shows. And again, that's like, that's debatable. But I feel with new school, it's like I don't hate it as that much. It's probably like certain like moments I do, but in the sense like it does offer like different choices, where like, if you're not able to enjoy this, at least you have other options. You can go to this route, or you can go into this avenue. So like, and especially with music, how it's a form of expression as well. You can definitely see how music back then, it's like, everyone knew the same track, because like, especially with technology, how it's just kind of like spreading out crazy. Everyone can listen to the same thing, and it's like, oh my God, like that's my stuff, I'm jamming. Now it's just kind of like, if I'm walking past by, like I legit hear somebody new, and I'm thinking to myself like, yo, who is that? Like, I never heard this person. And you start venturing, you start to check out new things. So I mean, in the sense, like, I'm kind of going off of the notion how like new school kind of offers more than old school.
Can I chime in?
Oh no! If anyone wants to come say something about that, go ahead. I mean,
Vanessa, you could chime in. I'll go after.
Yeah, like,
I think the way that we consume music now is different, right? So as opposed to like when I was growing up, 2000. I don't know how old y'all is. First when I saw this, I'm like, old school versus new school. How old am I? I was born in 1982. But yeah, like when I was growing up, middle school, what kind of made it an interesting time for music at that time, like 2005, 2008, even into high school, was that like we were venturing into like a digital downloading. And so Napster and LimeWire, and we were making mix CDs, right? So the way that we started to consume music was different because we had more access to music as opposed to having to go to like a record store or go to like, I grew up in the States, so like Radio Shack, like those type of CD places where that's the only way you consume music, either through your parents, the like whatever collection your parents had, or whatever you heard when you went out, or the radio. And the reason why I like to mention what Shon said, like the reason why everyone knew the same tracks is because we were all listening to the radio. Yeah. And so it's more likely that because we're all listening to whatever Black radio station there is within a particular community, Black community, that we're gonna know the same tracks. So, but now it's like everyone has more access and there's so much more music coming out that I think we consume music differently. People don't really sit with music in the same ways. And I think it's just different. Like for me, I wouldn't say it's better, but I would say like it's just different, and everything is not for everyone. And so there's some people who really enjoy the rush of like, you know, scoping out new sounds, looking up new music. Like when I was in high school, there was this website called Hot New Hip Hop. And like after school, every day, the first thing I would do is go to Hot New Hip Hop, this is when World Star was just popping, go to World Star and see what the new music was. Cause I kind of had the stamina for that. But now I'm a bit older. I don't really care to do that. Like I don't care to know what Lil J, TJ, and Lil Baby them got going on. Like I'm not interested. So I think it's just, everything is not for everyone. And I think also the way we consume music is different. And so it kind of changes how we're able to like relate to music and culture.
Yeah, I was even like everything you said, Vanessa, and even you, Shon, my thoughts were like all over that. In terms of like consumerism, I feel like because everything has so much supply but not enough demand, a lot of people you have to always find new ways to reinvent yourself or reinvent how the consumer kind of like takes it all. And in terms of like what I said before about it's mentality that's different, I'll even go as to say to even what Shenikqwa said, I think mentality is different, but the content is the same. Take gangster rap, for example. Gangster rap basically reigned in the 80s and 90s. You could say it's what made what hip hop is today. However, we don't classify gangster rap as gangster rap anymore. Gangster rap has re-envisioned itself as trap. Yeah. It has re-envisioned itself as drill. Drill even has its own subcategory. The Chicago drill, the New York drill. My personal favorite is UK drill. Listen, don't talk to me about the UK rappers. That's me. That's the energy I have the stamina for, because the flow is just different. In terms of again how everything is. So the content is the same. People are still rapping about racism. People are still rapping about police brutality. People are still rapping about the chains, the babes, the just living the life. Conscious rap is still very much a thing, but I think now that's moved to, I think Bryson Tiller low-key colonized it. I don't know. But even everything, so when it comes to that, I feel like that's low-key why everything is so rapid all of a sudden, because there's always something being reinvented. But the content, I feel like, specifically in hip hop, even pop, actually no, pop I think has been the most transformative genre of music. If you look from like the 30s till now, but just to see how everything else, especially in the mainstream media, goes, like, again, content is the same. I don't see anything particularly different, even in media, but the mentality or how you approach it is a bit different. And I think that's where things get soiled.
Right. So, Ladi, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah. You guys are all touching on some like good points, and I'm resonating with a lot of it. And with music, I feel like a lot of the new music sometimes we're getting, it's like it's reinventions of like the older music. That's why you see like a lot of samples. You see a lot of like newer artists introducing like the older sound, or even try to work with like the older artists to try to like collect that feeling back that they had. And I feel like it's really like the difference between, like, I guess you can say consuming music right now compared to like the older times is everything is rapidly like quick, and everything is so everything is accessible to us to like consume. That's why like I feel like when an artist drops a project, like after 2 weeks, they're maybe dropping the deluxe to the project, or the fans are already asking for the next project. That's why the shelf life for projects, it doesn't really sit like, you know, really long, unless it's like a good artist who did something good. So that's why you have your Kendricks, you have your, even like you can say Coles, even maybe you can say Drake. Like they take their time with projects. Like Lil Baby is probably the hottest right now, but Lil Baby, he's a machine. When a machine, like he has to drop like every like whatever 2 months, 3 months, he's dropping. So like, you know what I mean? I guess I don't know if he's doing that from like a label standpoint or to keep like the momentum going, but like I guess you could say even like older times, a project that really brings like into my head is Confessions by Usher. I remember that whole project, the whole like listening to that project, sitting with that project back and forth, listening to it on CD, riding in my auntie's car, like back and forth. It's the only thing they could play, because it's not like we could just like, you know, go get another, you know, change another album or get another track. You actually have to like physically put the CD in. So we live with it. But like after, and a person will listen to an album these days one time and they'll judge it off that one opinion. Obviously, like if you listen to a song, an album, you might not like it. But like a lot of people, they don't even sit with a project. After one listen, yeah, it's trash. Like 20 minutes into the project, this project's trash. One song in, you know, I hate this. Like this is trash. And I feel like we're we get spoiled with like the amount of like music and how quick everything is. So I guess sitting with things is I guess harder. And yeah.
I definitely feel everything that you said. And you mentioned sampling. We're going to get to that. That's actually one of the other talking points I wanted to get to. But Andre, I want to get to you.
Yeah. I guess for me, I'm noticing like as I get older, I'm like turning like to older music. I really try to explore like the newer music because I really want to know like, you know, what new sounds and creations are being made, but I'm having a hard time like just keeping up with the pace. Like I just feel like there's just so much music. There's a lot coming out. And as folks said, it's just difficult to just take in so much at once and take it in intentionally, because it's just so much to listen to. So I'm just trying to navigate that, because I do still want to, you know, I don't want to abandon like the new stuff that's coming out. I want to really engage with it a little bit more, but it's just, I'm finding it challenging to sift through everything and, you know, and find what really resonates with me. And I think like Vanessa touched on it, like the whole, like the digital era has made it, has just changed how we listen to music. Just being able to skip something, to just listen to something on the go, like you're on the road, like you can listen to something, but maybe not really listening to it. It's just like kind of like this background music or whatever. But for me, I'm finding that I'm going back like more so into the old school, I guess, and trying to I guess because, you know, with sampling, like sometimes I'll hear a new song and then I hear like the original and I wouldn't even have known like that's where it came from. So for me, it's about just doing my homework, going back and really taking in like the old stuff. And recently I got a record player. So that really has changed how I listen to music. And I think I appreciate it a lot more than the digital stuff. So like just being able to put it on and sit and listen, and have to listen intentionally, because you have to go there and flip the record when like half of it's done playing or whatever. You can't just skip a song. So that's like a whole, like listening to music with a record player for me is just a whole different process, and I enjoy it more. And it's cool because like you can mix the old way, I guess, of listening to music with new music, because you can buy like newer songs on vinyl or whatever, and, you know, take them in like that. So yeah, I don't know, but for me, like I just keep returning to the old stuff, and I'm still trying to dig through and figure out what it is specifically about that I gravitate to so much. I don't know if it's just because I'm trying to re-experience like my childhood again, like with these older songs. And even when I think about it, even like with TV shows, I just feel like older TV shows just, I don't know, they just feel, I don't know, they just hit different to me. Like even I'm watching things like Fresh Prince or like Girlfriends, for example, like TV shows like that, I could just watch it forever and never get tired of it. I'm trying to figure out what it is about those shows. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we are trying to like really figure out what it is like, what is it about these shows that make them timeless kind of thing. And we're thinking like, we felt like it wasn't, they're not so drama oriented. Like I feel like nowadays, like everything's just so drama, just over, things are like overdone a lot to try to get people's attention or keep people's attention. Nowadays things seem so cut and proper, and like the shots, everything's just so clean and perfect. And but yeah, so I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, but I'm really just trying to figure out like what it is about those older stuff that keeps me coming back, and how they are able to like be like timeless in ways that I feel like, I don't know, shows, songs nowadays, I don't know if they're are going to be like timeless in the same way. It might take, maybe like things age with time, and maybe in 20 years I might be looking at songs that came out this year and be like, yo, wow, that shit still hits. But right now I feel like it won't.
So Andre,
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm about to cut you off, but like even like I run a music page, and I posted like a whole bunch of like 90s black themes from like the different shows. Yo, the themes in the 90s for like shows like Moesha, Martin, Fresh Prince, yo, it's crazy. Like I can't, like I don't really watch TV, but I know if I watch TV, I can't tell you 10 shows like right now that have like crazy theme songs like they had in the 90s. So like I don't know, I think that might be like one aspect too, because like if you have a good theme to a TV show, it gets you drawn. It's like a jingle too. It's like it's like I don't know, it's, when you hear a commercial and you might not even want the product, but you'll hear the theme song. Like we know like a few like Why Buy a Mattress Anywhere Else, whatever. But like if like a good theme can stick in your head, and a good theme will it can make you like stay with the show and make you appreciate the show. So like the themes in the 90s, yo, it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get to Vanessa because I know she had her hand raised for a while.
Yeah, I think just on top of, I think the nostalgia plays a big part, right? Like I saw it on, I don't know if it was TikTok or something, or Twitter, but someone was saying like there was this study that showed like whatever music you were listening to between the ages of like 12, before 12 and 12, like those tend to be the songs that you refer back to in your adulthood because of the ties to your adolescence. And so again, that nostalgia thing playing a big part. But I also think the difference in like quality is apparent because again, there wasn't as much, like music videos used to be millions of dollars, right? Like just the way there was experiences around like music, around artists. Like I don't know who it was. I think it was me and Ladi talking about it the other day. But like how back in the day, like you would get you would never. I don't know if it was me and Ladi. It was me and somebody, child. But you would get like a CD, and like that would be the only access that you would have to an artist, like reading through those pages of the album cover, or like Word Up magazine, or like some of these magazines or guest appearances, you would see them pop up on Moesha or pop up on Sister, and you wouldn't have that much access to artists. Like there was so much more of an allure, and there was so much more intention around like the construction of music and like music personality and music videos and everything around that. So I think that also added to the way that we kind of connected to it, because it just seemed more bigger. Like it seemed bigger. Like even when you look back into the 50s and the 60s and the 40s, like, and they had the big grand stages, and they have the microphones, and they have like the like how they recorded live music. That's a different vibe as well. You know what I mean? And so I think it's like now, because music is produced so fast and consumed so fast, the just like capitalism, like the higher production and the quicker production, kind of the lesser the quality. And so like you can hear music, most of these music is made like electronically. You're hearing like digitized beats. You're not hearing like raw instruments. You're not hearing like a full orchestra's helping to build music anymore in the same ways that we were like when we were younger and before that. So I think that also adds to like the sound, right?
Yes, for sure. I know you wanted to say something.
Kind of lost my train of thought, but longevity, I think longevity is not there anymore because when artists roll out music, it's no longer to just roll it out for like a blocko or for like a just stations and different things like that. I think there's a lot more to take into consideration, especially in this digital age. You have to consider TikTok, for example. There's a lot of artists who are not just catering music for music's sake anymore. So the artistry, I'm not saying that it's lost, but it's become watered down and or kind of like oversaturated because it's no longer just like taking out music to express. I think there's a lot more consideration that goes into just releasing music nowadays. You have to think about how people are going to interact with it on the media. How is it going to be received on the media? Because if TikTok does not like it, you know what I mean? Like there's so much different things that go into it. And I feel like as you guys were all talking, I was kind of like, oh, I agree with everything. It's just media has just played a big part in consumerism. And I think it has helped actually push things forward in a way that it's not always productive.
Yes, for sure. So I think it was Shenikqwa, Ladi, Tinuola, then Emily. I'm trying to keep track of hands. So
no, I think someone was before me. I think
it was Shenikqwa. Was it Shenikqwa?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, just to touch on the point before, like I remember in high school, my teacher was like reminiscing on like when he went to Luther Vandross shows and talking about how extravagant, like he had a whole stage set up of like props and all these kind of things, and then and dancers and all this kind of stuff going on that it's not really here. But like I guess if I'm thinking about in terms of the accessibility, right, I feel like you have a lot of people trying to pop in different industries in different ways. So like someone could be doing work on Instagram and then be able to be brought into another person's like camp of doing work. So like how people are interpreting things isn't necessarily, it's just so different in terms of like how creative people are being, and like how it's like you can literally get, like, it's not to say that didn't happen before, but it's just how it happens is different, right? So like if you're a makeup artist and you're doing good makeup and you do a few tags or whatever, there's a potentiality that you can connect with whatever artist that you're trying to reach out to. And I feel like that happens in a lot of other industries. And for me, how I'm seeing it is like with that gives you just a different look on many things at the same time. It's not, everyone's not going to Lil X. Everyone's not going to one producer as well, right? Like there's so many, or one director. Like there are people who are just being picked up because like how people are being picked up even is different. So then you have even more more variety of sounds that are coming out because of how many people are just creating on their own, and people like that sound, and it's like just more reachable in that way. I think that came to my mind when folks were speaking as well, because yeah, like there's a friend of a friend I know that is like a big producer in Toronto now. And I remember when my friend was telling me he used to be making like crappy beats in high school or whatever the case may be, but like just that closely connected. Just solely based off of the work that you're doing and like the sound that people may like, and so
yeah,
I don't know that
for sure. I think Emily wanted to say something quickly.
Sorry, I just have to leave for like 5 minutes. My sister's here, so I'm gonna leave and then I can rejoin right after. I don't think it will be that long. That's
all
cool?
right, no problem.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's cool. So I think Ladi and then Tinuola.
Even I guess I think your sister was talking about like I guess even rollouts, and like sometimes it's not like, I feel like maybe like with the rollouts it's like the certain artists like Tyler the Creator, his rollout for his album that just came out, Call Me When You Get Lost. I think the rollout was amazing. And even like him working with Tyler's such a fan of music, and I feel like with the artist that's really passionate about like the craft, about music. You know, I can even say from different R&B artists. Like you could say Anderson .Paak, Ari Lennox. You know, those are like the true artists who really kind of like you can tell care about their craft. And with those guys, they take their time with their music. They won't be dropping as, I guess, often as like maybe another artist. And I don't feel like the TikTok stuff, like really, like they don't really have to run on that machine, because their machine or the way they connect with their fans is throughout their music and throughout their art. And the thing I really liked about the Tyler Creator album is he always wanted to do a Gangsta Grill type mixtape, type project. And he got DJ Drama. Everyone knows DJ Drama for his Gangsta Grill mixtape series. You know, he did one with Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
I think is it Gucci, maybe? OJ the Juice Man? But one of them, like he has legendary Young Jeezy. Like everyone knows the Gangsta Grill as you know, iconic. Like if you had a Gangsta Grill mixtape back in maybe 2008, you know you're a hot rapper. And the fact that like Tyler, the reason I really love what he did, he brought DJ Drama into his world, and he brought him like, and it wasn't a typical sounding like Gangsta Grill. Like Tyler, he produced the whole album in this element, like, you know what I mean? He has his sonically sound. And the thing I really like about, like, I enjoyed about the album is Tyler brought like the different artists to his world. Like NBA Youngboy, he's considered as like a trap artist. He's considered as a, you know what I mean? Just you see the memes with his fan, like a aggressive, you know, crazy, you know, rapper who's probably trap and shit like that. But when Tyler brought him into his album, and the album, like the production and even Tyler's vocal, NBA Youngboy's vocals on the song, it really sounded amazing. And the way it meshed in, you know, I enjoyed that. And I was talking to one of my friends. I love when I see like crossovers. Like another one I'll say is like, I'm a big Playboi Carti fan. I like the trap music, you know what I mean? That's one thing I can say. Like the new school, that's one thing I guess I can connect with. I like all the trap stuff, like the little Uzis and all that. But the thing I like about, like, even Solange, when she had Amada, the song, and Playboi Carti got on it, like, you know what I mean? That they're two different worlds, two different artists, two different worlds, but like it surprisingly worked on the track. Like you hear it, like he might not be like quote unquote saying anything, but like the production that she had and, you know, the way I guess he connected with it, it seemed to work. So I think sometimes, you know, what I'm trying to say, I guess artists, like, yeah, you should be really allowed to take your risk, but I know like music is a business itself too. So I guess sometimes you might want to take the risk, but you might be under label, you might be under management. So it's kind of hard for sometimes. So I guess sometimes we can see like artists get frustrated because like, I guess the labels might be telling them, oh, you have to make this TikTok song, you have to do it this way. And these artists might not even want to go that route. They want to do it the natural route of just making the music, you know, organically bringing it out and seeing who enjoys it. But, you know, I guess labels is a whole technique. Like, I don't know. So I guess, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take Tinuola's the last one, then we got to move on to the next discussion points.
Yeah, I'll see if I can make this a bit quick. While I was hearing everybody's response, a question just like got into my head when it comes to, again, let's go back into consumers, because we're the ones that are actually kind of controlling the narrative for everything that we see in the media in the first place. Like, because I've heard a lot of, okay, artists are not putting a lot of quality into what they're doing now. TV shows are not as they don't put that theater production that we can actually connect to. So I was just thinking, do we not have a role to play as well? And I kind of thought of the concept. I feel like what's different is the concept of legacy versus money. Before, let's say before, again, I'm really young, but I feel like I've lived like through like 3 different generations because of how fast things are going. But before, when people, let's talk about music since that's been a hot topic. When people put out an album, not an EP, not a mixtape, even mixtapes to an extent, because mixtapes are more individual, it took time. how is it that I could still bump Miseducation of Lauryn Hill? I could still bump Sam Cooke's greatest hits, but tell me something about Lil Baby, no offense, but I cannot relate. Tell me something about Gunna, I don't relate. If Lil Wayne's on a feature, because you know he's veteran style now, I will listen to it or whatever. But how it's because of legacy. People don't care about legacy anymore because that was how you got your clout. That was how you got your solidification as an icon. It was through the quality of what you put in TV shows. It was the same thing. The reason why Moesha was so groundbreaking, Girlfriends. We talk about Fresh Prince a lot. We talk about obviously marketing plays a really good role in that, but it's because they all said, you know what, I want to be known for this. I want to be known the subject matter for this. Moesha, it was Brandy. Like so many other people did that. Was a star transition into television, but who actually did it well? Will Smith is one of them. He was a hip hop artist, first hip hop artist to win a Grammy. He transitioned so effortlessly. Why is that? Because of legacy. But I feel like what this reminds me of is Cardi B. Cardi B has said so many times she does not do this for the music. She does this for the money. And we as consumers have just been like, okay, true. I'll still bump your track though. So are we not some people to blame in terms of that? But again, I could go off in this. Women in hip hop is a whole different thing. How we saw women in hip hop in the 90s compared to now. We as a society have a role in over sexualizing them, or trying to think that they need to be over sexualized in order to be taken seriously, when that's not the case. Yeah, there's the Rhapsodies, there's the Rico Nasties, but are we seeing them on the charts? No, we're not. And then my last point, I think that's what Ladi was saying. I feel like what I could say that's really good, especially about old school versus new school right now, individuality is more praised. Before it was the record labels who literally decided what we would be consuming. And now that we kind of have, again, the media or popular culture in our hands, we've kind of embraced individuality a lot. That's why we get so many different types of music. But that's where there's a new artist with a new type of style, new type of approach always popping up, because we kind of embrace this. Because I feel like as a generation, we kind of said, you know what? I hate this quote, but like, oh, we will not be like our ancestors. Really stupid quote, but saying, you know what? We will let other people come in. We will let other sounds come in, because that's, to be honest, that is what made Tyler, the Creator, and the whole Odd Future gang who they are right now. You think it was us? No, they have their own following because it's strong, because we've been there. And the thing is, they did quality music. I still bump Channel Orange till this day, and no one can tell me anything. But I guess that's what it is when it comes to individuality and like what we embrace now, that, to be honest, I don't think other people can, or other generations can kind of say.
Yes, for sure. Vanessa, Shenikqwa, I know you guys have your hands up, but I want to try to move on to the next topic. I know this conversation is very intriguing. This is kind of giving me like reminiscent of last year. I think the first 15 minutes, like I didn't say a word. So I just want to get to the next point. So you guys brought up so many like great points, you know, consumerism, how like as time goes by, we decide to like consume more, but like the quality is not there. Or like, I know there was mention about sampling, and I want to bring into that, you know, sampling and even like reboots of shows. Like you see it a lot where like they take classics and they try to like, you know, bring it back in order for the new generation, like the new audience to see like, oh, okay, this was what was popping back in the day. So I just want to like ask, like, do you feel like this form, this art of sampling, because it is an art, this isn't something that is for everyone that can just execute and master. This is something that obviously requires time, precision, and respect. But do you feel like, you know, the art of sampling and even like just trying to reboot or like, you know, do like different versions of shows that we love, do you feel like it's being tarnished by the new school, or do you feel like it's not a big deal? Like to me, and like again, I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I feel like it's my job as the host. I feel like it's not too bad to the point where like it's damaging anything, because I feel like yes, there's old school and there's new school, but I feel like what you guys have mentioned before, I feel it's about working together to make sure that, you know, we're all on the same page. And I think that's what this new school generation is trying to explain it. Sure, they don't have the best way of showing it or demonstrating it, because, you know, again, we are always on the go with technology and just the mindset of how we're just kind of moving down this fast road. But I do feel like, you know, when you get a different version of a show, it's like, oh, okay. So back then they went this direction. Where are you going to go this way? You know, are they going to do something new? It kind of gives like different choices, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. So that's just my take. I mean, I want to hear what you guys think. Do you feel like this art of sampling or like trying to reboot shows or do different versions of shows like years later, do you feel like it's being tarnished, or is it a big deal? Is it just whatever?
I guess it
Can I go?
Yeah, I mean, Vanessa, Shenikqwa, I know you guys got your hands up, so you guys could like start us off.
Yeah, well, it even relates to what I was gonna say before we kind of transition, but I think the difference between now and then is just, again, the type of productive, like the production cost that was put into music back in the day, right? As opposed to now. Like now we have a lot of more independent artists who don't have the same type of backing as artists did back in the day when they were signed by a major label who have these big budgets, right? So that even goes into sampling. If you think about hip hop was birthed off of sampling. And so I don't think this whole sampling thing is anything new, right? Hip hop is funk and disco sampled over break beats, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think sampling is nothing new to the genre. I just feel that because there weren't, like when you think about, like, for instance, Juicy, like Biggie's Juicy, like that's a sample track. But the way he utilized the sample is so creative. But like, I feel like now the ways that samples, and that's because there was more production costs put into like creating an album, releasing a single, right, developing an artist. We had artist development. That doesn't happen these days, right? In the same types of ways. And so now I think when like people are remixing tracks, it's not the same type of, it doesn't give me the same vibes. Like I think some people did, like I think Come Through, Summer Walker did come through a little bit okay. But I feel like they're, like a lot of the times the samples are very apparent, not in a way that's creative. I think some Afrobeat artists are doing some cool things with samples. Like I feel like Burna Boy did a couple of like hip hop samples in his track and his music, and they're like, I like samples that made me think like, yo, where do I know this song from? Like it doesn't come out apparent, but when I keep listening, I'm like, yo, where do I know this from? Like that's how I like sampling done. So yeah, and I think it also, like I said, it goes back to like the way the intention and the resources put into production cost. I don't think it's the same as like, let's say the 90s, 80s, and prior to that. And I think that's what we see happen. We see what's happening differently that makes the sound not as like big or like long-standing, like having that ability to be something that we're listening to 20, 30, 40 years down the line.
Okay, so like, yeah, for sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Shon.
Yeah, because like I find that's interesting. So like, so what is it like? Is it because like, if someone were to sample it, is it because it's not creative? Is it just a sense that if they do try to do something like that, there's just the pressure of like, you know, they have to like do something crazy? Like, you know, I'm very curious, like, you know, because like we're throwing it now on the artist in a sense, like not intentionally, of course, but like in the sense of where, okay, so you're going to sample a track, you know, at least do something different. We're like, okay, like it's something different. It has variety, or it's like, it gets me guessing like, oh, I've heard this somewhere. Like, you don't want to do a track where like you just take it and it's like cut, put, copy, paste, and it's like no effort. So like, I'm curious, like, what is it with you know, a lot of the old school type of people where it's like, you know, if you're gonna take something good as that, especially if it's a track that has a huge significance, like, why is it a sense where like, you know, it has to be creative, and maybe it doesn't have to be creative? So
I agree wholeheartedly with what Vanessa said, especially when it comes to the sampling. For me, like immediately when I saw this as a part of like what we were talking about, I'm like, as long as it's done right, I don't care. And the first two songs that came up to mind was Drake when he sampled Juvenile's back that ass up, and he slowed it down and whatever. And like when I heard that, I lost my mind, because I'm like, okay, that, like, for me, like, and this is old and that's like a super old track, but like for me, it's like when you do it right, it is so memorable. and and then the second track was Summer Walker's track, and because I'm like, and even her bringing Usher on, like having that other stamp kind of approval. I'm like, for me, like once it stands out, once it's done right, fine. But then you hear other people who are they're literally singing the full chorus, the full hook, everything in the damn song. Nothing is theirs. They're singing everything that was in the song before in the track. And I'm like, what was the point in you doing this? There's little mixing done to the track and they're singing. I'm like, this is trash. This is a great song, but you messed it up solely because you decided that you wanted to be lazy as hell. And that's the thing that pisses me off. And then when Vanessa brought up Burna Boy, I was thinking about, you know, everyone knows the Burna Boy song, like, yeah, yeah. So when I'm listening to it, I'm like, where I know this song from? And then I remember Akon's Body on You. I'm like, holy crap. And then, and then that would agree that like with Afrobeats, it creeps up on you that you're like, oh, I kind of know this track, but I don't know where it is. It makes you dig because of how like amazing, how well done it's layered. And then you're like, wow. And then it makes it like a super memorable track. It'll give you like goosebumps. Like for me, once it's done right, I don't care. But when it is done lazily and it's just like, I'm going to sing this entire next or other old school song, and then I'm going to add out like 2 lines of my own lyrics that I managed to push out. I'm like, this has done nothing for music and this was a waste of time. Why did you do this song? Like, you paid for studio time to do nothing. It's a huge pet peeve of mine because I go out of my way to make sure that I'm listening to newer music and not like sticking in, you know, like, you know, the old school stuff. I go out of my way because of the very reason of like, I want to engage with what creative things people are doing. And like to touch on what Vanessa and Tinu said before, in regards to the authenticity of it, or what Tino said, actually, the authenticity that people are bringing to their music. I want to hear what their sound is. I want to hear what the narrative is and like how people are telling their stories, right? Because that's how I kind of register music. So now I'm hearing people do amazing things, different things, some of the same, but in their own way. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. But when you sample a track that is like so memorable to do nothing,
it's a disrespect.
I want to report it. It just pisses me off so much.
It's like
it makes me so upset. It makes me so upset.
I have to ask because I feel like but like, what is right though? I mean, is it right when like you get it on the nose, like when you like take parts of a track?
It's the authenticity. It's the creativity. Well, that's the whole thing about it, right? Like Vanessa brought up, like Juicy, or like there's so many other songs that people have done. Like, and you're talking about samples that are from like 70s, 80s that people have done amazing things on, right? And that was through their interpretation of what they can do with that track.
Right.
But you're just like it might as well, you know, like how like Neo gives someone a track and they sing on the track and then the person does it. Like, imagine if Beyonce just sang Irreplaceable like Neo did it.
Okay.
That wouldn't make any sense. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't make any sense for someone to take a track and do nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So like, let me just say this too. Like, I definitely get what you say. The has to be authentic, but also like, what if it's like someone samples a track and like it's completely like different from it? Like, is that a bad thing? Because, you know, again, like new school in a way could say where it's like, you know, I don't want it to like refer the track I'm trying to do to such a classic, because if I do, then again, like people are just gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna dismiss that. And maybe sometimes we don't notice that off the bat. Maybe it's because based on the song that's being used to sample, it's like, oh my God, like, why did they take this part and cut it off? Or like, why did they not use this or that, you know? So I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's also like it's very dependent of like what is right. I think it's what's right within the artist's perspective as well. And maybe sometimes, and not all the times, but sometimes we may not take that into consideration.
I mean, sorry, Lottie, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. I think like even Vanessa, when Vanessa was saying like a sample, like when you, I guess when it's not like blatantly known, like it's a sample, or when even after maybe you're like going through and you search up, or you'll be on Twitter, you'll be on Instagram, and be like, oh, this song is sampled to this, and then it shocks you. It's like, what the hell? I didn't even know it. That aspect of like being caught off your feet, that aspect of being like twisted and turning. No, and anyone can like sample, and like sampling, like I think a lot of things that's like being done right now is probably it's being reintroduced. Like a lot of the shit that we probably like hearing, it's people probably done it in the past. Like people done it in the 90s, 80s, and a lot of times it probably wasn't just broadcasted because I guess we have social media now, so it's easier to like I guess broadcast stuff. But like yeah, like the thing with sampling is like I think when it comes to sampling, I think who's behind the sampling is really important. Like 40 is perfect for that. Like Drake's producer, he loves that's his sound. Like he grew up on that type of R&B, like the Aaliyah, Sade. So he's in his bag when it comes to like that sampling aspect of that aspect. He can find any like R&B sample. And the good thing, I mean the thing that he does too, hold on. The one thing that's really good about Drake is like his team. Even his next producer, Boy Wonder, he's amazing at doing that too. And he's amazing. Like if you listen to the Pound Cake beat, that's a Ellie Goulding song. And the way I think the vocals are reversed or something like that. Something like that. But like that sample, that's how you do. That's a good way of doing a sample. Poetic Justice, Kendrick, the Janet Jackson sample, that's like amazingly done. Like I think it's just who's behind it and the way it's done. Like you don't have to like, you can bring in a sample, but like maybe reverse it, maybe put some reverbs behind it, maybe like like twist it. But like if you're just gonna like just sing over the sample, just say the same exact shit that they're saying, you know what I mean, and not add some type of different element to it, then it's like, yeah, it's kind of like lazily done. And when we talk about sequels, a lot of sequels, reboots, I kind of think they're kind of like, they're lazily, like a lot of it that's done, they're lazily done. It's no type of like, I don't know. I think it's easier too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's no really thought process behind it. Like they can do a reboot, like same as they want to do I think they want to do a sister reboot or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know about that one because it's like Sister was such a classic. The story that they had, like, T and Tamara, they met each other after like being lost. And like I'm like, I don't know, like a reboot, how are we gonna like bring this into effect? Like so some things I think, you know what I mean? Like kind of leave it alone, and you kind of like sometimes when you touch it, like you're kind of like touching with the legacy, and I don't know. So I guess it has to be done correctly.
Hey guys, Post Shon here. Make sure you guys tune into part 2 of Old School versus New School 2 next week. I will be uploading that. Hope you guys enjoy the conversation.